Bro couple Elon and Trump, lovingly known as E-Lump, held an impromptu press conference where the media tossed some soft pitch questions. Halfway through the conference, Trump gushed at Elon saying,
He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this.
Which is essentially saying, trust us, we're oligarchs. During the conference, there was a whole lot of TNA, condoms, and friendly fisting. Check this out.
What's good for you radicals? I'm Chaos, your angry empath, and I'm just being a ripple in the wave with today's Chaos Theory.
While party loyalists are trying to sell this as a classic left versus right fight, anyone with half a functioning brain knows it's much bigger. This isn't about fixing corruption, it's about redistributing it while keeping it firmly in the hands of the power-hungry class. Because let's be real, power never concedes peacefully. And now that the maggots have handed Trump unchecked authority, here's the real question. When do these powers go back to the people? Spoiler, they don't. So, when it comes to accessing the people's private information, of course he's not going to use it for his own benefit. Of course he's not going to cross-reference who votes on what. Of course he's not going to use the data to determine who's a loyalist or not. Of course not. Pinky promise. He's reeling in waste and fraud. Great. Oh wait, did he go after monies paid to Wall Street money? Did he go after Democrat and Republican insider trading? How about defense entitlements? Is he going after any of the rich and powerful who sat on the dais during the inauguration? No? This is the power and money grab heist of the century. Trump isn't just looting the system for himself. He's building a war chest to fund a fascist loyalty network. His oligarch pals control communication, finance, and surveillance. And that's where the peeps, aka the circle back resistance, is girding ourselves up for. But nonetheless, just take a look at this latest distraction.
And how could a judge want to hold us back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence?
People voted to fix the system, not to funnel public funds into a hostile takeover under the guise of reform. No one voted for a king. It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, and how we all know you'll never give that power back. They preach transparency. It ain't on their website or on X. Where are the numbers reported? What counts as fraud versus what Elon simply doesn't like? How any recovered funds actually go back into the people's coffer instead of oligarch slush funds? Maybe because this isn't reform, it's a cash heist. Without holding legislators accountable, the fraud will return. This is not about fixing waste and abuse. It's about redirecting the pipeline to the usual suspects. Both Democratic and Republican legislators have been grifting off this system for decades.
How much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads.
What? By locking them out of their own buildings and making their staff grovel before some 19-year-old tech bro? Really?
Trump's heist of the century to fund fascist loyalty.
Again, the people voted for reform, not an unchecked oligarchy. Real reform means checks and balances, not billionaires playing Monopoly with public funds. A truth bomb for the kiddies. The truth is always embedded in the lie. When Elon keeps repeating that there's TNA, transparency, and accountability, it's to distract from the massive conflict of interest. He claims you can see everything on X and the Doge website, but the only thing there is propaganda and self-aggrandizement.
Does that mean that you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
No. Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website.
There are none. The only real transparency was Elon dismantling the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, the agency responsible for holding oligarchs accountable. Imagine that.
Trump's heist of the century to fund fascist loyalty.
And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for.
You mean like basic democracy? That thing we used to have before you turned it into a billionaire free-for-all? You know what people didn't vote for? The gutting of democracy, the erosion of civil rights, the dismantling of consumer protections, the hijacking of government for private gain.
So everyone's the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop.
Really? Really? We're rehashing that lie. A gain.
Can you personally guarantee that the workers who opt in to resign now will be paid through
Well, they'll
September?
get their money.
Like the contractors who worked on his buildings who BT Dub didn't get paid. So, as I stated from the outset, this isn't about cutting waste and fraud. This is about redirecting it to purchase loyalists, which is apparently working, especially on the Supreme Court, who's supposed to be providing a check and balance on this, instead conceded. The real questions that aren't being addressed are, how are legislators who enabled this fraud and abuse going to be held accountable? How are legislators who enabled this heist being held accountable? What systems are being put in place to prevent future fraud and abuse? How do we ensure these stolen powers are returned to the people? Which include the president has absolute immunity. Supreme Court concedes power to the president ignores court rulings. The president unilaterally dismantles constitutional rights. President's overstepping his power to attack civil servants. President perpetuating America's original sin by dismantling civil rights. This isn't about fixing the system. It's about replacing one corrupt ruling class with another and making sure the new one never lets go. Fight for a future where greed doesn't overshadow humanity. I'm Chaos, and you can support this channel with your shares through Patreon or by hitting up our swag store. Sales support the evolution. Peace.